Hi everyone, happy Monday. Welcome to the first of many videos this year, our first official lesson video. I'm going to go through the equations and inequalities worksheet that I posted last week for Algebra 2, and hopefully that helps you get through your homework. And you can always pop into a Google Meet tomorrow, Tuesday, from 10:30 a.m. to 11 a.m., or Wednesday from 1:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. if you have any questions on that worksheet or any others. I'll also give you a sneak preview of the pretest for the algebra skills check that we're going to do as well. So here we go, let's get into it. Okay, so here we go. I got this neat little tool that hopefully will hold my phone as I record this video, and that way it won't be as shaky as it was last spring for those of you that have me. So anyway, just a quick Algebra 1 review, going through some equations and inequalities. I will post the answers to these. I'm not going to go through each one, but you could always check with an app if you wanted to see the steps. So, real basic here, the first one, two-step equation. We're trying to solve for C. Well, we have to first undo the addition, right? So we're going to start with a subtraction step. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other side, the golden rule of algebra. So once you subtract 1 on both sides, we end up with 9c equals 9. All right, and then last step is to undo the multiplication by division. So we divide by 9 on both sides, you get c equals 1. Simple enough, right? And if you wanted to double check to make sure c does equal 1, well, remember, we can plug that back into the original. Do 9 times 1. You could probably do this in your head as well. 9 times 1 is going to get you 9, and then you add 1. That does give you 10. Once you get a true statement, you know you're correct. All right? So just watch out for some fractions on this worksheet. Number 4, there's a couple ways to go about solving number 4. Personally, I would start with the subtraction. All right, to keep the numbers smaller, I would subtract 9 from both sides. So we get m over 5 equals 2. All right, and then we could finish with the multiplication, okay? So you could then multiply by 5 on both sides to get rid of the fraction, and you've now solved for m equals 10. Okay, so if this seems very easy for you, then that's great. That means you remember a lot of Algebra 1, and the beginning of this year should be a bit easier for you. All right, so 7 is quite different from number 4, as we really have to multiply first, all right, in order to eliminate this fraction. So that's where I would go straight with the multiply both sides by 4 step. All right, by doing that, we've eliminated the fraction entirely, and we're just left with n minus 31. Okay, n minus 31 equals 8. All right, and then now you're down to one step. Add 31 on both sides, n equals 39. Okay, so besides that, there's no more fractions to worry about. Be careful if you're dividing by a negative, a -1 here in number 6. Be careful with your final answer. And, when you have variables on both sides, like in number 9, make sure you move them to one side. So you have to isolate t here. So I would take 5t, subtract it over to the right, and then you can solve with one more step. All right, so that's the equations. Flipping over to the back with the inequalities, you solve these just like an equation, remember. All right, so we don't need to necessarily change our steps. The one big difference is the sign, okay? We no longer have an equation because we don't have an equal sign. All right, so there's not just one solution, there's many solutions. All right, we're still going to solve it the same way. Let's start with the first one here by subtracting 3. That's going to leave us with x over 2. X over 2 is greater than 6, all right? And then your final step to solve for x, well, we could multiply both sides by 2, get rid of that fraction. So now we have x is greater than 12, all right? We do not have to flip the sign. Remember, the only times we need to flip an inequality sign or symbol is when you multiply or divide by a negative number, which we did not have in this first example. So no need to flip the sign. We just need to think about how to graph this on a number line. So we're going to start it at 12. The question is open versus closed circle. Well, since it's strictly greater than, it's not including it. There's no equal to sign, all right? So since there's no bar, we're going to have an open circle on 12 shaded to the right because we want all solutions greater than 12, all right? Not including 12. So let's jump to one like number 4, all right? This is where we see a greater than or equal to. So in this case, we do have a closed circle, but let's solve it first. I'm going to start by multiplying both sides by 5 to get rid of that fraction. So then that leaves me with x minus 4 is greater than or equal to, x minus 4 is greater than or equal to 10. Last step, add 4. X is greater than or equal to 14. So now the difference is we're going to have a closed circle on 14, since it is equal to, and it's still greater than, so we still shade to the right, greater than or equal to 14. Okay, and that's really the main differences with inequalities. So you solve them just like an equation, but the biggest thing is remembering to flip that inequality symbol whenever we do multiply or divide by a negative number. You might not see that on this review sheet, but eventually you will, okay, especially when we get to compound inequalities coming up next week, most likely. All right, so that's pretty much it for the solving and graphing inequalities. If there are any questions, like I said, feel free to pop into a Google Meet. I think you can handle the fraction here on number 7. Try that one out. Answers will be posted to this at some point, most likely tomorrow. Okay, and then the sneak preview page is the pretest, okay, which is a little bit of everything from Algebra 1. Okay, it's, as you can see, some squares and radicals to start off. Okay, so just to test all your knowledge, not just equations and inequalities, there's some expressions where we have to use our PEMDAS skills. All right, so you can go through and test your knowledge there. And then we have some words that we need to translate to numbers and equations, all right, and inequality. So that's this middle section here you can try out. And then there are some more equations and inequalities, proportions. So like I said, a little bit of everything here from algebra just to do a total skills review before we hit the ground running. Okay, there's some literal equations on the back, more equations and inequalities, the compound ones that I was talking about. So I was just referencing those. I'll certainly go through this. This won't be graded on accuracy. This is just participation to see what you remember from Algebra 1. Okay, and of course we got to throw a word problem in there as well. Okay, so we'll go over that on Wednesday for Word Problem Wednesday, all right? And I'll try to post an answer key for this as well. All right, that's about it for today. I hope you guys are doing well. And as always, feel free to reach out with any questions. And remember you can pop into a Google Meet on Tuesday or Wednesday if those times work for you. Okay, have a great day, everybody. Take care.